Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a list of 15 books that I'm hoping to read this next quarter, and I'm going to be ranking them from where I'm anticipating I'm going to feel from least liked to most liked. And my goal, of course, when I make my TBRs and make lists of books that I'm interested in reading, I want to read books that I think sound good. So I think all of these sound fantastic. There are just some that I'm expecting to like a little bit more than others. And what's fun about this is to go back and see how either right on I was or how horribly off I was. I did do some of these last year, and I always had the intention of doing a follow-up part 2 video where I actually rank them based off of how I ended up feeling, and then I compare that to where I thought I was going to put them. Life just kind of threw a wrench in everything last year, as I'm sure it did for a lot of you. Hopefully this year, I feel like I can't even say that. Hopefully this year, there's not going to be something going on every month or every 2 months or every 3 months. So, with that in mind, I have these 15 books, technically 16 because there's 2 that I'm kind of lumping together. I'm not sure if I'm going to read both or just one, but getting to the lineup of books, we have Ruin of Kings, Legendborn, The Bone Ships, A Vow So Bold and Deadly, Mask of Mirrors, Spinning Silver, Song of Wraiths and Ruin, From Blood and Ash, Crescent City, The Unbroken, Flamefall, The Black Coast, The Cardinals Blades, The Conductors, and Black Sun. I've decided when doing these to not include nonfiction. I'm just sticking to fantasy. I've just found I feel very uncomfortable ranking nonfiction in any way, or even ranking fiction books that have to do with very heavy topics. It just doesn't feel right to then compare it to something like A Vow So Bold and Deadly. When doing these, I like starting in the middle and then working my way out so that at the end we see the one I'm anticipating liking the least and then the most, so we kind of save the best and worst for last. Although, like I said, I'm expecting to like all of these. But the one that I've put dead center is actually the one that I said I'm kind of lumping them together. That would be Crescent City and From Blood and Ash. Both of these are kind of, from what I understand, almost like the invisible new adult age range that's not really a thing, but kind of a thing, where it's fantasy, but it also has a decent amount of romance in it. And I'm always unsure how I'm going to feel about books like that. I tend to find I like the heavier romance subplots more in YA, I think because they're often really cute and wholesome, and it makes me happy. And it's not that I'm opposed to the sauciness that you would find in more adult romance books, but I don't know, there's just something about the cute wholesomeness that gets me. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about these, but I'm really excited regardless. I think I'm going to have a good time with them. I just don't know that I'm going to absolutely love them, new favorite, and I also don't think I'm going to completely hate them, so that's why they're right in the middle at number 8. Working my way to the number 9 spot, I have Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This was something I had intended to read last year, but then my copy, because it was a special edition, took a long time to get in. So I want to prioritize it within these first 3 months. And I've heard really good things, but I have heard that it's maybe a tad tropey, and sometimes the characters are a little dramatic or their motivations maybe aren't the absolute strongest. And I think that might irk me a tiny bit. So I, in the past, thought I would have put this a lot higher. It sounds like a really good time. But because I have heard more things since then, I still think I'm going to like it. Just don't know that I'm going to absolutely love it. In the number 7 spot is one of the new releases I'm hoping to read, and that would be The Counselor. This one, it follows somebody who, after the royal in power dies mysteriously, this person now is tasked with finding a new person to go on the throne while also simultaneously trying to figure out who killed the former ruler. And it sounds exactly my cup of tea. When I did my anticipated releases, this was the one I was the most excited about then, but the reason that I don't have it higher up is because sometimes books that involve a lot of scheming, they gotta be real juicy in order for the scheming to work. You know, they gotta be House of Cards before House of Cards got weirdly creepy with what happened in real life. It's gotta be that level of, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, you can make the simplest thing so intense. And I like that in my scheming books, and I'm hoping I'm going to get that. But if you don't get that, then sometimes it can be a little dry and can be a little slow. and I might still enjoy it. I just don't know if it'll end up being the best ever. Next up, we have The Unbroken, and this one follows, once again, it's a newer release, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but it follows a soldier and a princess. And I believe I think they're both ladies, and I think it sounds really good, but the difficult thing with these new releases is there's not a lot to base it off of besides just reading the synopsis. If you want to see more in-depth synopses for these, I'll link my anticipated releases video because I know I'm not going into depth right now. But this one's just one where, I don't know, it could be totally awesome, coolest thing ever, or it could just be okay. I don't really have a lot of insight otherwise, so it's going to be a mystery. This is one that could end up shooting way up to the top, or I don't know, maybe I'll DNF it and hate it. In the number 6 spot, I have The Cardinals Blades. This is a translated work that I'm hoping to read this year, and it's French, originally translated to English, and it has, I guess, a Three Musketeers vibe. It sounded very similar in a lot of ways to Trader's Blade. When I first started Trader's Blade, I really liked it, and I was really liking the tone. It was a lot of friendship banter, and there were serious things tied in, but ultimately your heroes, you can root for them. They're the good guys, and then there's the bad guys, and those are the actual bad guys. It really isn't quite morally gray the way a lot of other fantasy books are now, but it was so fun. I ultimately did not end up liking that book all that much because of some of the events that transpire in the book, but I liked the feel of it, and I like the feel of that in general, and so I'm hoping that The Cardinals Blade is going to be that. Plus, I think there's a lot of dragons in the book, and I like dragons. In the number 11 spot, we have The Ruin of Kings. This is actually one of the buddy read books that I'm going to be reading with Jessie from the channel Jessie May, and I've heard some really good things about this book, and then I've seen some other people not really care for it at all. I actually was looking at Patrick's review for it on Goodreads, and he was saying how it is a little bit convoluted. So this kind of ties back to what I was saying about The Counselor, where when you have a lot of court intrigue, politicking, maneuvering, those sorts of things, it's got to be done in a way, it's just got to be done in a way that I like, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I don't know, maybe it will be too confusing, it'll be over my head, and then the reveals won't be as good, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll love all the intricacies, and I'll love how convoluted it is. We'll see. In the number 5 spot, we have Black Sun. This is a newer release from 2019 that I have seen a lot of people talking about. I know Reagan from Peru's Project really enjoyed it. I know my friend Deshauna really enjoyed it. Books with Brittany said she liked it, but that she had wished there was more world building, and I was like, well, heck, I don't know that I always need tons of world building, so that actually made me even more excited. And just everything I've heard about it, it sounds like it's very fresh, very unique, but also super fast-paced, and you just can't put the book down. And I don't know, I'm really in the mood for that right now. I just think, I have a feeling I'm gonna really like this one. The number 12 spot, we have The Conductors. This one sounded awesome when I was doing the anticipated releases video. It says that it's supposed to be kind of like a blend of historical fiction, but also with Jim Butcher's Dresden Files mixed in, that sort of feel, and it takes place in a time when, as if the Underground Railroad was a real thing, but there's magic involved. It sounds like it could be so cool, and it would be very unique, very different from a lot of the fantasy that I typically read. The reason that I have this lower is because I'm kind of basic sometimes with my fantasy, so it could surprise me and be one of my favorite things ever, or how different it is might end up being unappealing to me, and I might crave the more basic fantasy elements. We'll find out. In the number 4 spot, we have Legendborn. I've basically heard nothing but good things about this book. I just mentioned Reagan. She really liked it. QNTG said really good things about this one. Everybody who has talked about this book seems to really like it. I've heard it's one of the best debuts. It's a King Arthur retelling, but it's more modern day. And where The Conductors, I was like, oh, I don't know. Might not be my thing because it's different. This one, I think that because it's modern day, that it'll just end up feeling like there's magic in our own world, the same way something like A Curse of Dark and Lonely, which is a portal fantasy. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's almost going to feel more like a portal fantasy because it's our world and you're being introduced to magic. That's not portal fantasy. urban fantasy. That's what I'm trying to say. It's going to be more urban fantasy. And I don't know, I just have this feeling that I'm going to really, really like it. It sounds like it's going to be so fun. Similar to Black Sun, I've heard this one is one that you don't want to put down. The pacing is nonstop. The pacing is perfect. There's always something that makes you want to turn the page. And I'm really excited to see. Next up in the number 13 spot, we have The Bone Ships. This is another one of the Buddy Reads. Legendborn actually was as well. But The Bone Ships is one, I believe there's going to be a lot of being on ships. The name would also imply that too. But I believe there's dragons that are coming back. People thought they were extinct, and then they came back. This is what happens when you haven't read the books yet, so you're like, I think this is what it is. So we'll see if it's even close to that. It sounds like it will be really fun. I've heard good things, and I know that the second one is already out. So if I like it, then I'm hoping to jump right into the next one. But I don't know why. I tend to be kind of picky when it comes to books out on the ocean because I don't know why. There's just something about being out on the water that feels very limiting. So I don't know if that's going to affect the book at all. Something's got to be on the lower end of the list. And this one, my gut's not telling me I'm going to love it, but I hope my gut is wrong. In the number 3 spot, we have A Vow So Bold and Deadly, the third and final book of the Cursebreaker series. This one, I put it at the top because I very much enjoyed the first one. Didn't love the second one, but that's purely because I just didn't love the characters as much in the second one, and we do kind of shift focus. The third one, I think, is going to be all the characters, so the return of our characters from the first one, plus I think a lot of stuff's gonna go down, and I'm so excited. So this one has the benefit of me being familiar with the world and the characters already, which is why it's up so high. I really hope I end up liking it. In the number 14 spot, we have The Black Coast, and this one, it says there's war dragons and knights, there's a lot of fighting. I don't know too much else. To reference Petrick again, he said that this one, he didn't absolutely love it, but he thinks that he's going to have the unpopular opinion that most people are going to really like it. But I don't know, not always, but quite often my tastes align with his. So, Petrick, I'm so sorry. So much pressure on him for what I think I'm going to like. If I end up totally hating it, I'll be honest. And if I end up loving it, I'll be honest about that too. But because the one thing I've heard is not over the moon and stars about this book, that's why it's a little on the lower end. In the number 2 spot, we have Mask of Mirrors, another one of the new releases. And this one, it said that there was a con artist, a vigilante, and a crime lord that have to band together to save their city. That sounds like perfection. The Counselor, I thought, and I am still thinking I'm gonna really like it. But this one, when I thought more about my anticipated releases, this is the one that I was, I think, the most excited about. I'm really excited about this one. The number 15 spot was easy. I put Spinning Silver there purely because I did not care for Uprooted by the same author, and it's another one of her adult fantasy standalones. I did like the first book in the Temeraire series, which is probably really the only reason that I'm giving Spinning Silver a chance. Not the only reason. I still think it sounds good. I've also heard people say, even if you don't like Uprooted, that Spinning Silver is wonderful. So I'm hoping I'm going to like it. But looking at this list of books, I was like, well, if one of them's going to go at the bottom, this one seemed the most likely. But I'm hoping it'll surprise me. I'm hoping that I'll love all of these so much that then I won't know where to rank them after I've read them. The number 1 spot should be probably not really a big surprise to those of you who have watched my videos from last year. The sequel to Fireborn comes out, and it is called Flamefall, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited about it. I think the world is going to be opening up a little bit more. I know we're getting a new point of view in the next one. I'm really excited. I'm so excited for this book. Just like with A Vow So Bold and Deadly, it has the advantage of me already loving the characters in the world and being familiar with it. So it had an advantage over all the other ones. But you never know. Maybe the other ones will surprise me and I'll get some other new favorites in there. We'll see. But as of right now, this is where all of them are currently ranked for me. I'm going to be so excited to come back to this at the end of the quarter, see how similar I actually end up feeling or how terribly off I am. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.